welcome to the cast. This is part 2 with Pastor Chris Martin. We hope that you listened to the first part. If you didn't, stop right here and go listen to that. This is a continuation. Thank you for joining us, and here we go. No!
Yeah, so going to Morocco, so I didn't come here to pursue that, but as we were doing, helping here with missions, sharing on Sunday and taking the missions offering and trying to highlight our missionaries and taking trips every once in a while, it was just kind of on our radar a little bit again, but not necessarily to be a missionary. In fact, at that time, the church was really in that growth period. It was before we built this building. We're back there, but it was still a very good growth period. When we came, it was about 250, and now that thing was packing out at like 750 or something. Yeah. And so it was a very big growth time, and I think Pastor Dodd would have happily had me come on staff as full-time. Because of my growth with my company, they were encouraging me to move to Indianapolis, which I knew that was kind of temporary. We were based out of Wisconsin. I felt then they're going to ask me to move to Wisconsin. So we were in Nicaragua. Pastor Dodd and I went over to El Salvador to look at a project for another trip, for another team from here to go do something. And so while we were there, we were at, what is the name of that ministry? King's Castle. And so we were over there, and they have a prayer castle.
A prayer castle?
Yeah. It's an actual castle? Looks like
actual
a castle?
Wow.
Oh.
And they pray 24/7. Wow. And this castle is inside a volcano.
Where's this at?
That might be the coolest thing we've ever heard.
In El Salvador?
So when
castle
inside a volcano. So when
a prayer, not just a castle, a prayer castle.
Well, they have lots of castles, but one of them is a prayer castle. Yeah.
Oh, there's multiple castles in the volcano?
Yes. So when you go in,
are you lying? Are you?
No.
This sounds not real.
So when you go in, you're driving up like a mountain, but when you get to the top, it's a ring. And then you drive down in the ring. And as you drive down, the rock changes colors. And then I asked the guy, why is all these colors? Oh, that's every different eruption, depending on the temperatures. This made it black. This made it gray. This made it brown. This made it red. It's weird. But you go down in there, and there's this enormous lake. And when you look at this huge lake, and then you look up and you see this ring and think at one time that had been a volcano, but at one eruption it imploded. And so all the land, all the rock and dirt fell in, and then that created a lake. I'm sure you can find it online.
Well, yeah, I'm going to as soon as we're done. I'm gonna look up these castles that are in this volcano.
But that's where the Lord called me to Morocco.
So that was like your
I went to Prayer Castle with Pastor Dodd, and what I was praying to the Lord was, should I be full-time ministry, or things are getting more and more at work? Should I be full-time? Give my full devotion, because I felt like they're pulling me apart, right? Mm-hmm. Church is going great. The church was growing. I was doing singles. I was doing missions. Work was going great. I was covering these 5 states now. And I just felt, which one should I do? And that was my prayer to the Lord in that was, God, which one of these do you want me to pursue? And he said, lay them both down. And that's...
So neither.
Yeah.
Here's the third option.
God, there's only an A and a B here.
Yes. Here you go.
God says, no, there's a C.
Yep.
It's that neither. A, B,
yeah.
C is neither. So I said, okay.
So how'd you tell Carol?
Well, Carol was in Nicaragua. So I flew back to Nicaragua, and I said, I was praying over there, and I felt like the Lord said, it's time to go to serve overseas. She said, the Lord said the same thing to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
So from that point, that's, it wasn't the 7 years, but from that point we came back. So that was probably our last maybe 2 years here, began pursuing what to do, where to go. And that was a strange time, because now I feel like I have this answer from the Lord, but then it's like, how, where?
What do I do with this?
Yeah.
And so everything I would see, I would ask, Lord, is this it?
Oh.
I saw there was actually a job running a big farm and media. I think it was radio and maybe some other media out of Zambia, northern Zambia, Victoria, in the Victoria Falls area. Ministry had a big ministry there. They wanted someone to manage that. And I'm like, well, I'm, real good with managing lots of people with the trucking I was doing, and got good skills that way. And then, good ministry background. This might be a good fit. And so I talked with them for a long time, but it never came to full fruition. But anyway, just as an example of things, everything I would hear.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the thing that clicked me onto Morocco specifically, though I didn't know it at the time, it was from a guy in Morocco, Peter Akerite. And his answer was more clarity on how to pursue that call to go overseas. But he was also working in Morocco, so that kind of put that on my radar too. So he was here doing a Light for the Lost men's thing. And so he gave a good talk, and it prompted my heart because I'm in this mode now. This is after the Nicaragua thing, so I'm in this mode. So every missionary I hear is prompting my heart. It wouldn't take much to prompt my heart. And so he's really prompting my heart. And so I went to the restroom. The Lord spoke to me at the urinal. So that might be problematic for some people. I don't know, but I'm standing there and just going, wow, God, I'm still not sure what, you really want me to do. And I just sensed the Lord say to me, listen to this guy. That's just what I heard the Lord say. Listen to this guy. So I was like, okay. So I just went back out to him, and, everybody's talking now. It's kind of over, but so I waited till I could have a chance to talk to him. And it was as if the Lord had prepared his heart with what to say to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I told him, I said, well, I'm ordained, and I sense this call, and but I don't really know what to do. And so I don't know what they were, but he gave me like 4 things. He's like, this is what you need to do. You need to do this, 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 this. I can't tell you what those are, but I did this, 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 and went to Morocco. So I think it was like, tell your pastor, tell your district, fill out the application, any rate, it was simple things. It wasn't, like go fast for 6 months. It was simple, practical things. Do this, 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 this. And I did it. And everything clicked. Everybody I talked to, everything, the Lord just put everything into place.
And you were in Morocco for how long?
About 20 yees total.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We went to France for 2 years, and then moved to Casablanca.
Is that where you then had to study the language?
We studied French in France.
Okay.
That's a
that
real
story.
challenge to anyone's Christianity.
Yeah. Well, and your children, right? Weren't they going through that at the same time?
All my children know French real good. They don't practice it today, but they all learned it very, very well. Went to French school. Went to French public school.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
So you're fluent in French?
No, I'm very good in French, so I can talk to anybody in French. I can read the French. I read the French Bible regularly, so I mean, I'm good in French, but.
So would that be fluent?
Fluent is a difficult word, right?
Okay.
So here, I'll tell you honestly, even today, if I go home and I was to turn on French TV, it's very difficult for me to understand because it's people talking to each other very fast.
Yeah.
Talking like this to you, I can talk with somebody in French. Okay. I can express myself fairly well. Yeah. I'm very functional in French. Okay. But to use the word fluent means, that you can talk like a native speaker and you can understand. Yeah. I've had the hardest time with hearing and understanding. I was on a ski lift with my middle daughter, and it's one of these basket ones, and these 4 or 5 French kids get in it, and they're all talking real fast like that. It's like I can't pick up a word. And then my little daughter says to me, she was little then, she's grown now, but she's a little girl, she says, "Papa, is what they said true?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a clue with it. And I was so shocked that she was able to pick that up. We'd only been in France maybe a year. Yeah. And she understood clearly what they were talking about.
So much faster.
So for me, that's very hard. 5 teenagers all chatting back and forth. Just 5 French people in general. I can tell you, I know what they're talking about, but I don't know what they're saying. Yeah. It's too much. It's too fast.
Yeah.
But I'm functional. I can get around.
You might not be able to actually pinpoint this, but is there any one specific thing that you are like the proudest of when it comes to your 20 years in Morocco? Like something that you accomplished or something you were a part of?
Well, I guess anytime you use that word, it reflects me immediately just to my family, not necessarily to ministry. But, my wife just served so faithfully, loved people. Even today, I just heard just yesterday or day before, a lady from Morocco, Moroccan, still a Muslim, calling Carol and just saying, I miss you, and and talking to her and updating her on her life. And so Carol's just such the real deal. You should have invited her.
We did, Carol.
She really is such the real deal. And you know what I find with a lot of people that are the real deal, they don't necessarily have this sense of calling, or I don't want to be in front of people. I don't want to come to a podcast. Mm-hmm. Don't invite me up on stage, she says to me now when I come preach. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to get up in front of people. Yeah. Like Kay Weldon, same thing. Oh, I'm not very spiritual. It's like, you're so spiritual. Mm-hmm. You know Jesus so deeply because you've ordered your life that way too. Like your shirt says, to love God, to love people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what deep spirituality is loving God and loving people. And so proud of my wife. She just served so faithfully and put up with so much. We were talking about that the other day, I think with my daughter. Her husband left for just a couple of hours or whatever, and she was complaining, and we're like, I left for days. I left country. I was in a different country. And she's taking care of 3 kids, and I'm in a totally different country. Mm-hmm. So one time I was starting a church in Tangier. Church is still there, TIPC, Tangier International Protestant Church. But I was starting that church. I was driving up there we started that on Tuesday. We started as Tangier Tuesday Church. And so I was going up there preaching every Tuesday night. And we were during a season where the government was deporting a bunch of missionaries. And so I'm up there 4 or 5 hours away from the house. And she calls me and she said, the police are in front of the house with lights going. And I said, well, just don't answer if they ring or knock. They're not going to break the door down. Just don't answer. They'll come back tomorrow and talk to me. Yeah. If they're looking for me. They actually did come back the next day, and our next door neighbor was a missionary, and they deported him.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, I never had any problems with the police, but I'm just saying, I was just talking about my wife, just so proud of her. She was such a trooper, to be under that kind of pressure. That when they were in that season of deporting people and they were in front of the house and she's there by herself with 3 kids and just all the things you put up with moving. One of the stories she tells, if you ever have her on a podcast, you can ask her to tell us. She, when we first moved to France, it was so funny because we look French, we're both fairly tall, fairly thin. And so when we walk down the street, people would just come up and start talking to us, it's like, bonjour, and then they'd laugh at us. It's like I could say bonjour and soup du jour. That's it. I mean, that's all I got. And, our first week there, she got an eye infection. And it's like trying to go to the doctor.
Yes, yeah.
Find a doctor.
Yeah. Get
to the doctor. Mm-hmm. Tell the doctor what your problem is, and then get treatment also. That was just so stressful for her. Mm-hmm. So, and raising 3 kids in foreign countries. Yeah. According to the Assembly's program, we were supposed to move 5 times in 5 years. We didn't do it, but we did move 3 times in 3 years. So we moved from Albertville, France to Aix-en-Provence area. We lived in a little village called Aiguille. And then from there moved to Casablanca. So our kids went to 3 different schools in 3 years. Again, the AG would have had us come home for a year and then back for a year, 5 times in 5 years, but we didn't do it. But we did do the 3. So still just that, being a mom, the changing, the stress. Yeah. So I'm so proud of her and so proud of our kids. They've all done well. Nobody's perfect. Not me, not Carol, not the kids. They're not perfect kids, but they've all done very well, and they're all doing very well in life now. They're all married and serving people. That's one of the things I said to my kids. I never tried to force them into anything. I said, but before you're pursuing money, pursue a way to serve people. That's why God's put us here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in ministry in the church, but some way to serve people.
Mm-hmm. If there's somebody that's listening like today that's possibly going to go into the mission field, is there any wisdom that you'd want to impart on them?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say, I think where you go, and we got on this before, and I don't know if we ever came to the end of that discussion, was the people having access to the gospel and how there's such disparity of where the missionaries are and where the need are. It's two different places. And that creates the environment where it's easiest to go, where there's already lots of missionaries working. But the places we need to try and go is where the least people or no people are working. And so that would be my encouragement, would be look to the least access places. Now, there may be some people who feel a very specific geographical calling. And I would never argue with somebody if they say, hey, I'm called to Argentina or El Salvador or wherever. That's between you and Jesus. But I don't think that's the norm. I think God's calling is on our lives to serve. Mm-hmm. And then where we end up is kind of where God guides us. I think it's more of a guiding process, what's going to fit with our personality, where there's an open door for us. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing that led us to Morocco, was one of the things I had told the Lord was I wanted to go to one of the places that's least reached. And so when I heard more about Morocco, that here's this Arab Muslim nation, but it's much more open than some other places like Saudi Arabia or something, it just seemed like a good fit to begin pursuing that. Is this where you'd have me to go? And then the other thing for me was with my kids. I still to this day, now I don't fault missionaries in the past, but missionaries today, if anybody's watching this, please don't be offended. But I don't understand how anyone can put their kids in boarding school. I do not understand how the call of God is above your family. It's like when God called you, he knew you had kids. Mm-hmm. And so I just wasn't willing to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's my heart being unwilling to follow the Lord in something, but I mean, I'm unwilling. So if I felt like God was saying, go to Saudi Arabia, but you can't take your kids, I would just have to go back to the altar and say, God, I'm missing something.
Yeah.
I have that responsibility to my kids. To me, that supersedes.
Yeah.
Whatever he's asking me to do, unless it's temporary. I mean, if it's go to Saudi Arabia for a few weeks or go in and hold a crusade or wherever, even North Korea, go and die there if you have to. I mean, you know what I mean? It's short-lived. But if you're talking about my whole life, career, going somewhere 20 years, I'm not going and not taking my kids.
Yeah, because your kids are your ministry. I mean, that's your first ministry.
How do you neglect them?
Yeah.
And then be an example to the people?
Right.
You're telling them to follow Jesus, to raise their kids in that place. Well, why didn't you bring your kids here?
Yeah.
I just don't know how that works. And again, I don't mean offense to anybody. If there's anybody listens or watches this and you got your kids in boarding school, take them out. But I don't mean it in an offensive way. Just that that's a higher calling, and you only get one shot with your kids.
Right.
You can be a missionary forever.
Yeah.
I'm not a missionary right now. Will God call us again or move us back over there? I don't know. But I met a guy, one of the guys that inspired me a lot was in El Salvador when I went there. 72 years old, just landed on the field.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
He'd run tugboats his whole life, owned his own business, sold all of his tugboats, sold his house, moved to El Salvador.
Yeah.
Wow.
At 72. I took his picture. You know, when we had our office here, I had his picture hanging on my wall. It's like, that guy's an inspiration.
Yeah.
To give it all
keep
up.
Going.
Keep going.
Yep. No matter what your age, you're still
But you know,
useful.
Once your kids are gone, they're gone. I mean, you lose influence over your kids their whole life. So I love having grandkids now, right? And you have tremendous amount of influence in their life. Mm-hmm. And that's probably going to peak at like 6 years old. And then you're going to start losing influence because the school system, even if you're sending to private school, whatever, the media, friends, other things start to influence them. And man, when they move out at 18, and whether they're going to college or whatever they're doing, your influence is dropping off a cliff.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. So that would be something I would say if people are pursuing the call, you got to consider your family, consider your spouse. and then consider looking at the least reached places, the least access. So when I went to Casablanca, a city of about 6 million people, I told you, since the Lord called me in El Salvador, El Salvador, the country, had about the same population as Casablanca, about 6 million people. Just our organization, Assemblies of God. El Salvador, you have to look it up, but it's probably like 99% Christian still today. I mean, because it's counting Catholics, which sometimes in evangelical circles we don't count. I don't know why, but but at any rate, you got all the population, 6 million people, basically know Jesus, heard of Jesus, been at church at some point in their life. We have 166 missionary families. Casablanca, 99% Muslim, 1% Jewish, 0% Christian. We have 0 families.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
0 at the time I went. At one point, I was the only Assembly of God missionary in the entire country. 33 million people.
Did you feel did you feel like, oh, this is on me at any point? Like, oh, wow.
It's
like
on Jesus.
I know, but like,
He loves them. He died for them.
I know, but that I would feel like, oh, wow, I better be in tune because here I am, Lord.
Here I am. Man, that is something. You just got to learn to live that. So that was it. God, I'm here. Yeah. I can't figure out among these people who want to know Jesus, who want to talk about Jesus. I can't stand in front of a mosque and hand out Bibles. Mm-hmm. I never did anything to disrespect that country. And I am sometimes disappointed that some of our missionaries are a little bit too clandestine. And I don't say our missionaries, like the Assemblies of God, there's maybe some of the best, but in general, in the Christian population of missionaries, some of them are too clandestine. You know what I mean by that? Not sharing their faith openly enough. Because the need is so great, and I just don't think we need to protect ourselves, right? If we get kicked out, God knows where you are. God knows you. But this idea of God, I'm here, and so God used me, show me how I can make the best impact. Yeah. And so that's what we tried to do. I mean, in eternity, I think there's going to be a lot of rejoicing. You're going to see, things that we didn't see that God was doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's probably going to be a lot of crying. He says he wipes away every tear. There's going to be a lot of, I missed an opportunity there. Mm-hmm. I missed an opportunity here. I could have made a bigger impact in this person or that person's life, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just like living here. There's tons of opportunities every day, and we fail at a lot of them. Yeah. But make sure we take them. Say, I just want to do my best and serve the Lord and impact who we can impact. I guess back to your question, you were asking about what I was proud of in Morocco. My wife and my kids, that they came through it well. But then just serving there, I guess proud of the Lord. It was just such a great season in our lives. Mm-hmm. I felt like I grew a lot. There were times when I felt like you were just talking about that burden. But sometimes it was almost like it was reverse. It felt like it seemed like unfair. God, you're doing so much in me and for me. I feel like so privileged. I don't know how to express this, but it's like, it's a feeling of like unfairness, the favor of the Lord. Yeah. And it's a feeling like I'm supposed to be here serving and winning people, but it feels like, God, you're just blessing me so much all the time. So just so, in a sense, proud of the Lord, of his love, his care for us. And then just to see what he did in me, changing me, building the church. We moved to France first, and then we didn't know what we were doing in Morocco. We went in and out of Morocco, and this church asked me to pastor. And we took that church, and it was only about 20 people. And God just brought an awesome revival that just people gave their lives to the Lord every week. And we were in a French building, and there was a French service after us, so we were kind of boxed in. So I couldn't do we did altar calls during worship time, but I couldn't do altar call at the end because we were out of time. But every Sunday, I would just say, if you need to give your life to the Lord, show me your hand, And for 2 years, 10 or 12 people every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Raise their hand. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say, just pray this prayer with me. And I got the same prayer. I got the same prayer in my sermon tomorrow if I do it. I don't know. But I always put it at the bottom of my sermon. 2 things I do on sermon. At the top, put preach like a dying man to dying men. And at the bottom, do you need to accept Jesus? So at any rate, I'd pray the exact same prayer, pray this prayer with me, say it after me. Lord Jesus, today I give you my life, and I just step by step walk them through that. And then I remember about 2 years in, hey, who needs to give their life to the Lord today? There's no hand. It's like, hey, did you hear me? You need to get. And I was like, there's nobody today. Wow. So, but the church just grew to like 200 people. And then we started Tanger and Marrakesh. And, I started Tanger. There was never a service where I had nobody. There was a service where just 1 or 2 people show up, but there was never a service with nobody. One night, I went up there to hold service, and there was nobody. And I was like, it's so discouraging, when you're trying to start a church and nothing's going on. There's nobody. And I was just like, why am I doing this, Lord? And, the Lord's just, I don't know. And things are like that in our lives. I think if we'll just really take time to pray and listen to the Lord, he's there. Because he's like, well, what's the problem? It's like, everything's covered. I paid you, right? You had dinner tonight, right? What's the problem?
Yeah.
The problem's my ego. God's like,
Yeah, I've got it taken care of.
Don't worry about the people. Just worry about what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to be here, that's all that matters. Well, that night, so when that happened, I'm like, I'm just going to arrange the chairs because it's the French church, so it's still a church. Hold services there on Sunday, so arrange the chairs for him, do anything I can do to be a blessing, walk around, pray for a little while before I leave. And these 2 little old ladies come in. And when I say little old ladies, I mean they're in their 80s. They're up there. And they said, we came to Tanger. They were British. We came to Tanger as missionaries. I think they said 1962.
Wow.
And they said, we had the opportunity to come back, and we don't know if we'll ever have another opportunity at our age. So they said, so we came, and we heard you restarted this church. There was a British church there when they were there in the 60s. And we heard you restarted this church, so we wanted to come see you.
Oh, neat.
And they said, we've just been going around the city and looking for the ladies we knew because they had led many ladies to the Lord, but their husbands hadn't come to the Lord. And so these ladies couldn't meet with churches, couldn't practice, being Christian in a corporate way.
Right.
So they were going back just to meet with them one-on-one, encourage them in their faith.
Oh, wow.
And they came to church that night. And so that encouraged me so much.
Yeah.
Because we just sat there and talked about their stories, and we prayed. Yeah. But had they not shown up, that might have been, that's the last one. Not doing this again. Yeah. But, because that can be tough. I mean, just being honest, that can be tough on your ego, right?
Absolutely.
Telling people to come to church and nobody comes to church.
Yeah.
But those 2 little ladies blessed me so much. So anyway, proud of the churches. Though all those churches are still going. Marrakesh, Tanger, Casablanca, they're all going, thriving, and excited for them. And you're out of time. Another story?
No, I mean, we can keep going as long as you want if you have. But how did you come back? I mean, like you're back here. When did that?
I'll tell you that one next.
Okay.
So I got to tell you this story. So I told you we were having that season of revival. The majority of those people coming to the Lord were Nigerian. The majority of those that were raising their hand every Sunday morning for 10 years. And what had happened was, 2 stories now. So what had happened was there was a young guy came to the church. He was actually on the Olympic team for Nigeria, a footballer. And he came to church. And he already knew the Lord, but he was excited about the church. And he went to this other guy he knew who'd been, I don't want to say he was a drug dealer, but he went to jail in Libya for running drugs. And he had left, he'd gotten out of jail and he'd come over to Morocco. But he'd given his life to the Lord, I think in jail in Libya. And so this footballer told this other guy, his name was Chooks, you need to come to this church, CIPC. He said, no, none of these church want us, meaning black immigrant people. They don't want us. Because there's only like 3 churches in a city, right? And they've gone and they were kind of rejected, because they're not legal. And no, you got to come hear this guy talking about me. So he came, and then we hit it off. He liked the church. He liked me. Well, that guy just went out every day to the Nigerian community and said, you got to go to that church. And that's why, every Sunday morning, there was 10 or 12 people going, I need to give my life to Jesus. And the church just grew. So during that time, I contacted the Assemblies of God of Nigeria and went there. And I said, I got a congregation in Casablanca that's well over 50% Nigerian. It'd be nice to have a Nigerian associate pastor. I don't need another white guy from America. It would really help to have. Now the Nigerians were hitting it off with me real well. I had no problem with that, and we had a good relationship. But I just felt it'd be more balanced. Bring a guy in, maybe understands them and their culture better than I ever will. I'm trying to understand them, but better than I ever will. So I met a guy. Never met him face to face. The church proposed a guy. I contacted him. He was somewhere in the north of Nigeria doing some mission work, and he did some mission work in Guatemala. So I was chatting with him back and forth. And so he was game. He was like, I consider that. I'd like to come to Casablanca. And so I went and met with the Assemblies of God of Nigeria in, I can't remember where their headquarters is, but deep in Nigeria. Flew into Lagos. It wasn't Enugu. And went to Enugu to meet with them, but flew into Lagos. That was a whole experience in itself. Proposed to them, said, our church is largely migrants and other international people, and there's just not tons of money, but this is what we could do financially. This is what you would need to do financially. Here's a budget of what he would need to live in Casablanca. And they loved the plan, and we worked on it for 2 years, and we couldn't ever get the guy a visa. We just couldn't get all the pieces of the puzzle to fit. So it's dead. Well, it was just maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. So I titled myself president because we had 3 churches and I didn't know what to call myself. I didn't want a religious title, bishop or the most holy.
Yes. Pick something really,
So I just called myself president, like over an organization, but then we had pastors. So I had a pastor at each church. So I was president and pastor. So at any rate, the guy who's the new president, he called me and he said, hey, you remember this guy from Nigeria? I'm like, yeah, I remember him. How do you know him? Well, he knew him and because he grew up in somewhere. At any rate, they'd gotten in contact and he's like, yeah, he's pastor in CIPC now.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So he's pastoring. He's the head pastor at Casablanca now.
Wow.
And then we have another pastor who's coming to take that church. And then when that guy comes, this guy hopefully is going to start a new church, which I've already set up a building and money and everything I left behind so that they can start a new church. So hopefully there'll be 4 churches within that. So let's back to that. And then you ask, how am I here?
Yeah.
Well, Carol and I, this goes back to family and the importance of family and the way we see it. We felt we're going to stay on the field, till we're 70. I'd like to serve till I'm 70. That's kind of the higher end of the Social Security spectrum. And I'm like, I think I'll just work till I'm 70. We're pretty fit. We take care of ourselves good. We exercise a lot. And I don't see any reason why we can't go to 70. And then the other thing was, but as soon as the kids have grandkids, we're gonna bolt. And none of the kids were having kids. All the girls had gotten married, nobody having kids, nothing on the horizon. So I told Carol we probably should take that off the decision block of when it's time to go, because that might not ever happen. But then we got a new area director. He came into Morocco. He did the spiel, what have you done? What are you doing? What do you want to do? And so kind of as I rehearsed that with him, when he left, I kind of felt like after doing that process, like, I'm done. I feel like I did what the Lord wanted me to do. I'm finished. So it was probably a year from that point before we actually left, but we started talking about it. And probably in a few months, I gave my area director my notice and said, I think I want to retire. And then the regional director and then the AG and wrote an official letter. And And the AG's had some, trouble with mission stuff here lately, but all I can say is they were, from the top administrative point, they were super kind with me and super generous, that said, no pressure, just whatever date. You don't have to give me a date. Just, when it's time, tell me. So we were able to go on and pastor and process and work through things so that everything was in proper order.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, I've already left everything set up to start a fourth church, because we didn't just, decide one day and leave the next day.
Right.
We had plenty of time to process and work. Unfortunately, I couldn't put a permanent pastor in place at Casablanca, but we had a team of 15 at that time on our staff. So everything was left in very good order, and it was a very slow departure, which was healthy for everybody. And then we came back. I didn't feel like, so during that time too, we just prayed, you want us to go somewhere else? I actually was doing a little bit of work in Tunisia at that time. So I'd gone over, we have an international church there, and worked with some of the Tunisian people who had accepted Jesus. And so I was doing a little bit there and doing a project over there. And so we prayed about that. I was supposed to go to Tunisia. Libya's in chaos now too. So we're like, should we go over to Libya? There's like 5 different governments in Libya or something. I don't know. So that's fine unless you get in trouble, because then you don't know who to deal with. But no, I just didn't feel the Lord saying, move here, move there. I just felt it was time to come home. So we did. So we came home with no real plans. And then we ended up, I don't know if you know this about the girls in Georgia that we worked with. So we worked with a home in Georgia for a year, 10 teenage girls that were in state custody.
Oh, yeah.
So we served as house parents. So there were only 2 house parents, two couples. So we would serve 7 days on, 7 days off. And so we'd do everything, get them up in the morning and breakfast and off to the school bus, and wait for them on the front porch when they came home, take them to therapy, dentist, doctor, whatever. We did everything for them during that 7 days.
And this is like a home that you would go into and stay?
Yeah, so a nice big home that was built by a ministry. And I was trying to think of that guy's name. There's a famous guy who gave considerably to it. I'm so sorry, his name slipped my mind, but he's a country singer, and he gave a significant amount of money to help with that home in the first year. But beautiful home and beautiful ministry and great kids. And the kids weren't there because they were in trouble. They were there mostly because their parents were in trouble. Okay. And so they'd been taken by the state, and they were in state custody. And so the state would put them in this home. And it was a Christian home. So we took them to church every Sunday. When they came home, I was always sitting on the front porch, and always one of them had some drama.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this happened today in school. She said this, or she did that, or on the school bus. I sit down. We had rocking chairs on the front porch. Big Georgia front porch, rocking chairs. So I'd rock with the girl and talk with her, and then can I pray with you? So it was a very Christian home. We were able to do that, and it was a very good season. And so love that. That was really like super high stress. It was like either great or horrible, right? I mean, it was just the girls were great, but there were obviously times that were extremely stressful when, these girls have a lot of trauma. So their behavior, sometimes you're like, oh, why are they behaving that way? And then you're trying to be patient, because you're like, I know this kid has a lot of trauma back there, but it's like, also, I'm not like a professional in that field, and
a therapist or anything.
No. And so there was some stressful times. But also very good times, and we love those girls. Still trying to be in touch with the ones that aren't in the home at this point, and love those kids the best we can. But that was a very good season. So then Sarah got pregnant. So then we gave them notice too. Hey, we need to finish this off in the next few months, because there's no way with a week off. So we had been doing that, coming and seeing our kids during our week off. But when you leave work after a week on, you're pretty stressed. You're pretty burned out.
Yes, yeah.
And then you spend 12 hours driving up to see your kids. Mm-hmm. And then you got to get back and do it all over again. So it's like, that's not going to work with a grandbaby. So we just gave notice there. And then And then been spending a lot of time up here. And then I don't know if you know, but Becca is pregnant. So we're about to have a grandbaby in Georgia. Oh. So we're about to be doing some more driving.
Yeah.
But not week on, week off.
Yeah.
We told them the way we're picturing it right now in our mind is probably 6 weeks. So spend 6 weeks in Georgia, then 6 weeks up here, and then 6
And so you
weeks in
stay
Georgia.
with them. You stay with the kids then.
No, so we did. We lived with Sarah for a while, but now we have our own home there in Illinois, and we have a home in Georgia. So we have a town home in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have a daughter in Maryland. She doesn't have children. She has dogs. Dogs don't need to be visited as often. So, but we love Rachel and Brandon, so we definitely want to get through there as much as we can.
Yeah.
But it's different. You can spend a couple days with them.
Yeah.
You know, and get caught up and spend some time and love them. Whereas when you have little children present, you know, we need to spend weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
it's a good plan.
Yeah.
I like
All
that.
fun. Yeah. We're ready for grandkids. On that note,
Yeah.
are
On
we
that
good?
note, I think we're good.
That's a whole nother one. I don't know if you remember, we did the baby dedication here, and we want to do the next baby dedication. We were thinking about it tomorrow, but Ryan's parents couldn't come over. So I hope in the next few weeks we can come back and do a baby dedication. But that Sunday I preached on being a patriarch and a matriarch. So you need to listen to that again too. It's it's a mind shift, right? And instead of being traditional, what we think about in America as grandparents, grandparents often just want to pat the kids on the head, or as they say, spoil them, or get them, take them to Disney. They just want to do all the fun stuff. But I think grandparenting has a much deeper role to it.
Oh, sure.
Of being that next generation, showing them that stability of a next generation and the love and the care and the love you have for God on a whole different level, because the parents are crazy at that point, right? They're often both working and trying to manage these kids. And I just think every generation is getting tougher for moms and dads to be parents and to be good parents. And that's where grandparents can really step in a whole different role and say, how do I be a patriarch and a matriarch?
So does this lead into another podcast?
Yeah,
where
I don't want to go there.
Where you come back and talk about this?
That's a subject I would love to talk about.
Yeah, because I would like some of
books.
the wisdom. Yeah, I'd like to glean some of that. Yeah, from you, because that's our next step. So to be continued.
All right. Well, is that a good point to land?
Land the plane?
Do we want to land right now? Oh man. Okay. All right. First and foremost, just a big thank you to Pastor Chris Martin for being here.
Well, thank you.
We've got a small glimpse into his life. Yeah. And we're probably gonna have him back. We got to have him back. So, on that note, Timmy, do we need to cover anything else? All right.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yep. Bye.
This has been The Cast, a podcast of Bedford First Assembly of God in Bedford, Indiana, with Gary West and the reporter Tia Hiles, Shanon Hiles, and Tim Ray. Listen for new episodes of The Cast every Monday.